Hey guys, RichGonga reporting in. It looks like we have a 1v1. Buddy that has sent me a replay, MrGoomba. We'll be playing the blue Protoss down at the bottom here. And in the top, as a red Protoss. Oh yes! Enough said. We will have a Protoss versus Protoss on, I'm not exactly sure what this map is called, but I am familiar with it. I know that in the middle there's a pretty powerful watchtower that you can control that will give you pretty decent vision to know what your opponent's going to be doing. I'm not really sure. You can go around, use the grass, but at the same time, if you do that, you could miss something potentially important. We do have an expansion that's pretty wide open, especially if they throw down a pylon somewhere up here, start warping units in down here. Not a good position to be in. But we will find out. Does look like both far players droning up accordingly. We probably will see a gateway go down from MrGoomba as well as Ohyes. Gateway's going down almost at the exact same time. MrGoomba just a little bit faster than his opponent, who will be sending a scout out. He will scout incorrectly the first time. That is okay, as they are in opposite ends of the map from each other. That should show some, I would say, at least 2 base play, as you probably don't want to worry too much about rushing on this map. Be very difficult. Finds out that his opponent is indeed not there. Oh yes. Oh no, he is not there. Oh yes, does have 3 probes on gas. MrGoomba not getting his gas quite yet. Throwing down the first gateway is just now finishing. And we do have a cybernetics going to... He is going to block this probe from getting in. So, oh yes, is going to know where MrGoomba is. But he is not going to see what's going on back here. He's not missing much, but he does not know that. We do have the gas going down from MrGoomba now at 19. Cybernetics coming. Second gas going down for oh yes. And we do have a pylon going down, as he probably does not want to become supply blocked at any point. MrGoomba going directly for 2 gas. We do have the cybernetics finishing now. We do have a zealot out for MrGoomba, as well as this probe has taken over the Zelnaga. MrGoomba going to be scout, sending his own scout. Second gateway going down for oh yes. Warp gate research on the way for oh yes, but for MrGoomba not quite yet. Not. Do have MrGoomba, who's now going to be scouting, wondering where his opponent is. Robotics facility going down for oh yes. We do have a robotics going down for MrGoomba as well. I probably would explain the double gas early from both far players. This probe's going to scout correctly this time and find that there is indeed 2 gateways and a robotics with warp gate on the way. He is going to be seeing this cybernetic spinning around and should realize that there is in fact warp gate research on the way. Sentry coming out for for oh yes. We do have a sentry coming out. Another gateway being thrown down. Another 2 gates being thrown down for oh yes. Going into some 4-gate robo. We do have warp gate on its way from MrGoomba and a second gateway. We will be seeing an immortal early from MrGoomba, as well as from oh yes. We have a sentry out for him. I do believe that his only unit it is. But we do have identical productions going on, minus the 2 gateways for oh yes. This probe is going to chase this poor guy all the way back home, but then decides to give up, as he will probably be killed when he gets up here. Stargate going down from MrGoomba. That is an excellent strategy. He did scout the fact that we have a couple of gates, but a robotics going to leave oh yes very open to some air raids going down. This probe is going to chase him away from the Zelnaga, so he cannot have it. We have 3 sentries and an immortal for Ohyes. And we do have an immortal out for MrGoomba, who has a zealot and a sentry. Now 2 sentries. Warpgate research should be finishing up soon. We do have a warp prism on the way. How often do you see those? Because the answer for me is not very often. Void Ray coming out for MrGoomba. We do have a second immortal out for Ohyes. Going to be making another immortal, going very heavy on the immortals. Yes, sending a stalker out. Probably poke his head around, find out what's going on. And we are going to see Ohyes be moving out relatively soon. This warp prism from MrGoomba has its rally point set right into his base. This is going to be interesting. Probably warp some zealots right up into the mineral line. We do have a proxy going down for Ohyes, but that is a very far proxy. Warp gate's coming just in time. Not only for this attack, but for this warp prism, which will be arriving shortly. We do have Ohyes about to move out. The warp prism has arrived. All it needs to do is go into pylon mode. Ohyes has spotted that. We do have a couple of stalkers here going to start chasing this away. That doesn't appear to be the right strategy as of right now. Ohyes going to be moving in with his 3 immortals. We do have 2 immortals for MrGoomba. Couple of force fields going down. Good idea from MrGoomba, throwing those force fields down. This Void Ray backing up. Awesome way to save that. These immortals are not too good against the voids. He is going to cancel that proxy. And he should probably move these stalkers back home. And it looked like in the meantime that warp prism did poke his head down there again. But Ohyes was in fact ready for it. We do have another gateway going down for MrGoomba, as well as an expansion. No expansion from Ohyes yet, but it does look like he is saving up for one. He is at 400. He's going to throw down a forge. Possibly set up some cannons. This warp prism, going to poke its head back in here again, see if it can do a little bit of damage. Maybe just scouting, seeing what's going on. We do have a couple of sentries warping in for Ohyes. That is not where you want to be. Those stalkers are going to pick you off quite easily if you stay right there. He is going to maneuver around it. Those stalkers so fast on the ground now. Ohyes finally throwing down his expansion. MrGoomba now with 2 voids on the field and 3 immortals. Couple of sentries. We do have the expansion up from Goomba. Not quite mining off of it just yet, but I'm sure that will be coming shortly. We do have another gateway going down for MrGoomba, who does have his warp prism up here. He could possibly go back here, warp some in, but as soon as this pylon finishes, maybe not the best of plans. A couple of immortals sticking their heads out. We do have another one on the way. And probes finally queued up. He is going to see this pylon here. Probably do something about that relatively soon. Another Void Ray on the way for MrGoomba. Another immortal on the way for Ohyes, who is researching ground weapons level 1. Nexus just finishing up for his expansion. MrGoomba going to be pulling back. Throwing down his own pylon. Are these pylons within range of each other? They are not, but he does. They are, just barely. Just barely, they are in fact in range of each other. The war to pylons. Who is going to go down first? In the red corner, we have Ohyes. In the blue, MrGoomba, who has fired up a couple of zealots, probably going to deal with this pylon. Does not look good for the red corner, as he is going to go down without a doubt. We do have a gateway down for Ohyes as well. I'm not 100% certain. Did we lose that warp prism? I feel as though we lost that warp prism. MrGoomba does know that he was going to expand. I'm quite sure I can imagine MrGoomba knows that this expansion has finished. Couple warp-ins from MrGoomba. We do have 3 voids on the field, several sentries, 4 immortals, and a stalker. Possibly 2. Maybe 2. Blocking off the ramp. We are going to see a large engagement here. Force field's going down like crazy. These voids going to work. Taking out every single one of these immortals. MrGoomba's immortal's still alive. He wants to keep these voids alive as long as he can. We do have more stalkers warping in for Ohyes. These stalkers need to not be shooting these zealots and instead be shooting these voids. We have another warp in from MrGoomba, who's going to be walking right into the expansion. There's the GG. And Ohyes has left the game. What a good play by MrGoomba to throw down this pylon. Use 2 zealots to wipe this one. He does not quite know his opponent is going just yet. Ohyes maybe could have just imagined he was just taking that pylon out of there. My God, there's so many beams on this Nexus. Just look at this Nexus standing, no shot, even observer from MrGoomba. This Nexus doomed without a doubt. We do not have much up here as Ohyes was absolutely going to die. These cannons were not going to stop that force. And these stalkers running for their lives. Not feeling like giving their lives for ire. But this was the 1v1. Ending supplies 85 to 42. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys later.